Welcome back everyone, my name is Abdullah Gori, and in this video we will talk about CSS. In this video we will see what is CSS and the types of CSS. Now let's see the agenda of today's video. In this video we will see what is CSS, we will talk about inline CSS, internal CSS and external CSS. Now first let's see what is CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. CSS is a language for describing the presentation of web pages, including colors, layouts and fonts. It means by using CSS, you can describe how your font will look like, you can change the background color, the layout of the web page and much more. CSS allows one to adopt the presentation of different types of devices such as large screen, small screen or printers. It means using CSS, you can design a web page which can be look different on different devices. It means your website will be responsive, so your website will adjust its content according to device width and height. So there are a lot of properties of CSS that you can apply, and you can make your website beautiful and interactive, plus you can make your website responsive. Now let's see some of the benefit and facilities of CSS. CSS, as you know, stands for Cascade Style Sheet or Cascading Style Sheet. CSS used to style the web pages. CSS use selector to select HTML elements, and we will see what are the selectors in the upcoming video. CSS use selectors like element selector, ID selector, class selector and group selector. There are three types of CSS: inline CSS, internal CSS and external CSS. Now let's see some of the properties of CSS. CSS has a lot of properties like font size, which can be set to 20 pixels or any number of pixels you want. Color, and here you can provide the color name or the color hexadecimal code, or you can provide the RGBA color code. Text align center, it means you can modify the alignment of the text. Margins, we will talk about margins and padding in the upcoming CSS videos. We can apply padding, we can apply height to any HTML element. Width, we can set the width of any HTML element. Now these are some of the properties of CSS, but there are a lot of more properties. These are some of the simple properties that we use in our normal CSS. We will talk about other properties in our upcoming videos. Now let's see what are the types of CSS and why and where we use these types of CSS. We have three types of CSS. The number one is inline CSS. An inline CSS style may be used to apply a unique style for a single element. It means if you want to apply a style which only should be effect on one element, you can use inline CSS. To use inline styles, add the style attribute to the relevant HTML element. The style attribute can contain any CSS property. The second type of CSS is internal CSS. An internal style sheet may be used if one single HTML page has a unique style. The internal style is defined inside the style element or tag inside the head section or head tag. We will see how we can use different type of CSS in this video. The last type of CSS is external CSS. With an external style sheet, you can change the look of an entire website by changing just one file. Each HTML page must include a reference. It means you have to link the CSS file with your HTML to the external style sheet file inside the linked element or link tag inside the head section. Now let's see the syntax of using inline, internal and external CSS. Now the syntax of using inline CSS is, let's say we have this HTML page and we want to style our h1 tag. So if you want to style your h1 tag, you can use the attribute called style and you can add any CSS property to it. So here we are modifying the color which will become red, and the text alignment will be center. This is the syntax for using inline CSS. The difference in inline and other CSS is that the style will only be affected on this h1 tag. It will not affected on other elements of CSS. Now let's see how we can use internal CSS. The syntax of internal CSS will be look like this. We have the style tag in our head section, and in the style tag you can use any CSS selector We will talk about the CSS selectors in upcoming videos. Now here we are using tag selector, which is h1. So we are targeting the h1 tag and we are modifying the color to red and the text alignment will be center. Now in this case, let's say we have 100 h1 tag in our web page. They all will contain this CSS style. It means all the h1 tag will have this styling now. But the style will only be affected on this single page. It will not affect on other pages. Now let's see how we can use external CSS. Now let's say we have this index.html file. So to use internal CSS, we will have another CSS file. Now here we have h1 tag, but in addition to that, we have to use another external style sheet, or you can say external CSS file. So now we have a file called style.css, and in the style.css file we have the properties of CSS and we are targeting the h1 tag. And now what we have to do in our index.html, we have to make a link. So in the head tag you can see we are making a link, and rel stand for relationship. The relationship type is style sheet and the type is text or CSS, and after that you have to apply the href hyperreference and you have to provide the path or the address of your CSS file. Now the style.css file can be included in any number of HTML file. Any HTML file have the style.css file link will be affected by the styles that you have added in your style.css. Okay, now let's try to use these three types of CSS and let's see how we can use in our HTML pages. Now here I will create a new folder and I will name this folder to Introduction to CSS. In this folder, I will open up my Visual Studio Code. If you don't have Visual Studio Code, you can download. I will provide the link in the description section below. Here I will create a new file, so you can press Ctrl N to create the new file. We got the new file and I will save this file and I will name this index.html, and you can see I am saving it in our Introduction to CSS file. When I save this file will become an HTML file. Another thing is that I am using extension called Code Prettier, so this is the text by default will be added to my HTML. Now here let's get the basic HTML code by using the exclamation mark. So we got the basic HTML code. Now let's see how we can apply the CSS here. So I will change the title of our web page. I will say Introduction to CSS. Okay, and let's open this index.html file in the browser so we can see what is going on in our web page. So you can see for now we only have Introduction to CSS as a title on our web page. We don't have anything in our body. Now here let's add any HTML tag. So here I will go for h1 tag. So if you want to add h1 tag, you can just type h1 and hit enter. Your Emmet will automatically create an h1 tag and close it for you. So here I will say welcome to CSS tutorials. I will save this file. I will go back in the browser, refresh it, and you can see the text is here. So this is the basic HTML element, which is h1, or you can say HTML tag, which is h1, and by default you know that h1 has a bit bigger size than a normal text and it has built-in style. It means it will make your text as bold. Now we want to style this h1 tag using CSS. Now first let's try to use inline CSS. If you want to apply any inline CSS on any HTML element, you have to use style attribute. So I will type here style attribute and you can see your Visual Studio Code will give you a brief description about what this attribute will do. In this attribute you can apply any CSS property. So I will use this style attribute. I will change the color of the text. So I will say color is blue violet. So you can put here any color name. You can put hexadecimal code or you can put RGBA code of any color. After that you have to put a semicolon, so you can apply another properties later if you want. If I save this code, if I go back in the browser, if I save this and refresh it, you can see the color of our h1 tag is changed now. So that's how you can apply inline CSS on any single HTML page. Now let's say we have another h1 tag here, and here we will type this video is a part of web designing course. So here I will go and refresh it. You can see the style is not affected on this h1 tag because we have used inline CSS. It means it will be only applicable on this h1 element. Now if you want to apply the style on this h1, you also need to use a style attribute right here as well. You can say color, and here I will use this color. So if I refresh it, you can see the color is changed, or we can use another color like this. And if I save it and refresh it, you can see this is the color that we have changed. Now after that, you can apply any number of CSS properties. Here we can say font size, and font size we want to make it 40 pixel. Okay, if I save and refresh it, you can see the size is increased now. Okay, after that you can apply another properties here as well. So we can say text align center, and if I go and refresh it, you can see the text is aligned and centered now. If you want to change the background color, you can use background color property, but you have to remember the syntax. So if I say background color yellow, see the syntax is that first you will provide the name of the property, then a colon. After that you will provide the value of the property, and then you will add the semicolon. If I save this one, if I go and refresh it, you can see the background of our h1 tag is changed now. So this is how we can use inline CSS. Now let's talk about internal CSS. So what I will do, I will delete these inline CSS styles that we have applied. So I will remove this style tag, and I will remove this style tag. Now we don't have any style attribute. To use the internal CSS, you have to go in your head section, and here you can use style tag. So if you say style, after that you can target any HTML element. Now there are many different element selectors, so you can use any element selector depending upon the situation that you have. For now, let's use tag selector. So we can say h1. Now if you are using tag selector, you just need to type the name of the tag, and then you have to open up the curly braces, and here you can provide the CSS properties. Now let's say we want to change the colors. So if I save this for now, if I go back, you can see this is the normal style that we have. Now here I want to apply color. Now let's say I want to make this color as blue violet. So if I save and go back here, you can see the inline CSS is applied on both the elements because we are targeting the h1 tag. So what it will do, it will go here, it will search all the HTML tag, and it will apply all the styles that you have provided in these curly braces. So it means all the h1 tag will have these styles that you have provided in these curly braces. Now what if you want to apply different kind of styles on different h1 tag? For that we have two other things, which is class and IDs. So you can provide ID to any HTML element. So let's say we want to provide the ID. So ID, what it does, it will define a unique identifier which must be unique in the whole document. So ID must be unique. The purpose of ID is basically use CSS, or you can use JavaScript for it as well. For now we are using CSS. Now here I will provide the ID like welcome. If you go back here, if you refresh it, you can see the style is applying on both the text or both the h1 tags because we are targeting the h1 tag. Now what I will do now, I will remove this h1 tag here. Here I will only target the ID that we have in our document. So to target the ID you have to use hash symbol, and then you have to provide the name of the ID. In this case it is welcome. Let me change the spell. Okay, now here we have to open up the curly braces, and the properties, as you know, every type of CSS use the same properties. The way of using these types of CSS will be different. So now I am applying the color blue violet. So if I go and refresh it, you can see the style of only the first h1 tag is changed because the first h1 tag has the ID called welcome. Now we have another selectors, which is class. So you can provide a class here. So here you can put any name. So let's say description. Now to target the class selector, what you have to do, you have to put a dot before the class name, and then you can put the class name, and here you can provide any CSS properties. So let's say I want to make the color as tomato, and I want to change the font size as 50 pixel. If I save this and go back in the browser and refresh it, you can see this styles is applied only on this h1 tag, because this h1 tag has the class called description, and the style of welcome ID is applied on this h1 tag because this h1 tag contains the ID called welcome. Now it is a best practice if you use ID to uniquely identify any HTML element, and if you want to apply same style on multiple HTML element, you can use the class selector. Let's say we have a paragraph and I will say lorem 10, so it will give us 10 random words. And now what if I provide a class here, and the class will be same as description? It means I want to apply these same styles on this h1 tag as well as this paragraph tag. If I go and refresh it, you can see these styles are applied on h1 tag as well as the paragraph tag. Now you may wonder why they are different now. Even if they are using the same styles, they are different because h1 by default contains the bold attribute and paragraph will not bold. So this is only difference that we have. If you want to make your description class bolder as well, so you can say font weight bolder. Now both of them will become bolder. Now that's how you can apply one style or one class on multiple elements. Now let's try to apply p tag here in lorem 10. Let's try to apply the same class on two elements. If I say welcome here, if I go back and refresh it, you can see the style is applying, but it is not a good practice if you have same IDs on multiple elements. So ID means you want to uniquely identify the HTML element. So it is a good practice to have a ID which will be unique in your whole HTML document. So for that you can use welcome1 here or any other ID name. Okay, and if you want to apply the same styling to multiple elements, then you can use class select. Now that's how we can use internal CSS. Now let's see how we can use external CSS. Now what I will do, I will remain this HTML code same. I will just delete this style tag. Okay, now if I save this file and if I go back and refresh it, now you can see this is the normal HTML styles that we can see. Now what I will do, I will create a new file. I will save this file in our folder. I will provide the name like style.css. So the name can be anything, but the extension must be .css. So the browser can identify this is a CSS file. After that, we got our CSS file. Now what we have to do, we just have to link our CSS file. So I will go here, I will provide a link tag. So you just need to type link. You will get this thing. So link relationship is a style sheet and hyper reference. So you have to provide the hyper reference of your style sheet file, or you can say your CSS file. So here we'll say style.css. Now this file is linked with this HTML. Now here you can apply this style. Now here what I will do, I will apply the styles on welcome tag. So I will target the welcome ID, and here I will change the color. Now let's say tomato, and I will say font weight is bolder. If I go back here, if I refresh it, you can see the styles is applying. It means it is working. Now the same case will be for class as well. So you can say class description that we have created in our h1. And if you want to be more productive or creative, you can use the facility of VS Code. So you can split the files. You can see your HTML right here on the left hand side, and you can write your CSS on the right hand side. So it will be easier for you. So you just need to click on this split button, or you can press Ctrl and / shortcut key. So here what I will do, I will provide the styles for the description class. So I will say background color, and I want to make the background color is violet, and I want to change the color is red. So these are the simple styles that I have applied. So you can see the styles is applied right here as well. Now what is the difference in inline internal and external CSS? As you seen that in inline CSS, the style will only be applied on the HTML element on which you are using the style attribute. It will not apply on other elements. So inline CSS is really different. In internal CSS case, the style will apply only this index.html file. Now what if you want to apply the same styling on different pages? Here I will create another HTML file. So I will say index1.html. I will save this HTML file. And if I copy all the text from here, if I paste this here, and let me go in our course folder. If I open up this index1.html, you will see it will get the same styling as our index.html has the same style as index1.html. Now what you can do, you can have anything different here. Now we have h1 tag here and we have same welcome ID here as well. So let's use the class here. So I will say class is equal to description. So I will use the description class here. As you know, I have linked this style.css file. So the styles of style.css file will also be applied on this file as well. Now the main thing is that you have to remember the name of the classes and the IDs that you have created in our your style.css file. Now what you can do, you can go back here, you can refresh here. You can see the styles of style.css is applying here as well as right here as well. So this is the benefit. This you cannot achieve with internal CSS, because in internal CSS this style will only be applicable on the HTML file in which you have these styles. I hope you have understand all of the different types of CSS. In the upcoming videos, we will see more CSS properties that we can use. We will see how we can create beautiful and interactive and also the responsive website by using HTML and CSS. Now that's all from this video. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any question or suggestion, you can comment down below. Do share it with your friends so they can learn as well. Subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so you get notification whenever we upload any video to our channel.